here. We'll be getting started here really soon. Welcome to Skillshare, Northern Plains Skillshare number 3. And we're about to get started. Here, and really excited to have everyone coming in. You're coming in more and more of you. So yeah, once again, here we are on Northern Plains Resource Council Skillshare, the third one of these that we've done. And really delighted to have you here. And you'll notice in the chat that there will be information coming in about different things that are being covered in this evening. So my name is John Brown. I'm on the board of directors of Northern Plains Resource Council, and I get to tell you about what's happening here. Really excited about this event. And I'm originally from Circle, Montana, over on the eastern seaboard of the state, and have been involved with Northern Plains for a long time. And I'm really glad to be a part of this organization. Northern Plains Resource Council is, if you're new to us and have just come here because of this event, we are a grassroots organization of Montanans and others who work together to protect our land, our air, our water for future generations. We believe in community organizing for a future where our economy serves the people rather than the people serving the economy. Kind of a radical idea these days. And we're a membership-based group. That means that we're made up of our members all across the state and governed by members like myself with a lot of help from some great staff. So a Skillshare, and why would we do this? And so this is, we're here to build a shared culture around the skills like fixing your own bikes, which we did in early winter, I think. I don't even remember when that was. It's not a place for experts. We are people just sharing what we know that we've learned by doing it. And so, why do we do this? Because alongside the work of organizing our communities and changing larger systems, we also believe in deepening the skills that let us provide for ourselves and building our connection to the land and to each other. And that's where the fun really comes in. So if you're interested in saving seeds, canning, learning how to cook, unusual cuts of beef, or worm farming, stay tuned for future sessions. And if you have skills that you'd like to share with others, let us know and we'll put you on the agenda. And as we continue to do these, we plan on keep having this as an ongoing process. So we're going to be this evening, we have a special guest who's going to be sharing some skills, and there's skills that that she has developed and shares through Timeless Seeds, which is a organic pulse organization here in Montana, where pulse crops are lentils, chickpeas, garbanzos, which are another name for chickpeas, and other crops like that, grown in Montana and sold almost all over the world. And so the person who is here to share the timeless seeds and garbanzos in particular is Brei Lamaye, who is here, and because I'm Norwegian and not French, I can massacre her last name, but here she is, and really, really delighted to have you here, Brei, to help us learn another farming group here in Montana that's doing some really great business model focused on soil health and the value of taking care of the soil and then letting that take care of us. So a couple of things about so we're gonna talk about organic black butte chickpeas. They're one of Timeless's products that are grown here in Montana. They're a trick to grow. They're not easy, but the growers are really getting it down and really doing a good job of it. So a couple of things about Brei before I turn it over to her. She's a longtime organic food fan. And her journey began when she was a buyer at Whole Foods Market in Little Rock, Arkansas. There she began to learn about growing organic food, soil health, and other overall wellness practices. She and her family moved to Havre in 2014, where she was immersed in agriculture in a more tangible way. It was during this time that she was introduced to Timeless products and began cooking with them in her home. And today, Brei has 5 kids and does social media, graphic design, and marketing support for Timeless through her company, What She Said Services. That's the name of it. What She Said Services. She's cooked every Timeless product every way possible. And I'm gonna, and is here to show us today how to make a no-waste spicy chickpea wrap with Aquafaba dressing. So Brei, thanks so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to you. If there are any questions, Ty will take them in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, John, so much for that introduction. Yes, I am a longtime fan of organic food, was introduced to Timeless years ago and have been cooking with them ever since. So now I get to be a part of the Timeless family, and we are grateful for this opportunity to collaborate with Northern Plains Resource Council to show people that there are really cool things happening stateside. So for those of you who don't know, Timeless Natural Foods is one of the largest providers of organic grains and pulses in America. And this is based in teeny tiny Ulm, Montana. And for those of you who don't know, Ulm is, from my last Google search, 591 people. So we work with about 50 farmers, thereabouts, give or take, to provide unique products that bring interest and intrigue to the plate. There's way more to the world than black beans and rice, and we're here to show you that how to grow these varieties and how these varieties are literally changing the future of farming. So we're going to move on. Today I'm going to be making a no-waste spicy chickpea wrap with lemon aquafaba dressing. And for those of you who are like, Aqua, what did you just say? I was there too. And this is going to surprise you, but aquafaba is the gelatinous liquid that comes left over from cooking chickpeas. And most people just throw it out, but savvy foodies know that you can create dressings, whipped desserts. I've seen chocolate mousse. I've seen icing for cake. I've even used this as the liquid base of a homemade soap. So whatever you do, don't throw it away. It's time to get creative. But before I start the recipe, it might be interesting to know that these chickpeas hold a really special place in our hearts because of the way that they came to us. So the backstory is that when we originally got the seed in the early 90s, we learned that it was collected in the early 80s by a man named Gabriel Howarth. And he collected them from a field laced with mines in Kabul, Afghanistan. And this was during the time that the Soviet Union had occupied Afghanistan. So this was an incredible act of bravery and forethought. And we're blown away by the fact that the seed that he collected is now all over Montana. And it is all because of one man. And I wanted to share this story because it's an awesome story and not many people know about that. And so that's a little behind the scenes there. So with that behind us, let's jump on into our recipe. And if you're taking notes, don't worry about getting the recipes or the quantities right. Just know that there will be a link at the end that you'll be able to get all the precise measurements that you're interested in. So let's jump in. First things first, cooking chickpeas. This is a package of our Black Butte chickpeas that you see on the screen. And there's a couple different ways to cook it. If you're going to cook this in an Instapot, which I highly suggest, there is no soaking. There is a 45-minute cook time. And if you're looking for a nice, thicker aquafaba, just reduce the amount of water that you put in there. Otherwise, it will be aquafaba. It will just be a little thinner. If you're going to use a stovetop, I would pre-soak it for 45 minutes, pre-soak it overnight, and then cook for about an hour. That's about how long it takes. I would highly suggest the Instapot, especially if you are a distracted cooker, if you've got children, you're folding laundry, if you're doing something different, or you tend to, burn things like I did. I've got stories. Then I would suggest the Instapot version. So for time's sake, I have pre-cooked my chickpeas over here, and I have added a little bit of sauteed onions. And you'll see on the next slide the spices that I chose for the mix. And I'm just going to put these in. I'm just going to put them straight in there. And it's equal parts. I like to work in parts. I don't like to work exact. So I'm going to stir that up. And I don't know if you can see, but they are a lovely chocolate color. And you'll notice that I put cocoa in this. And I'm going to say, don't be afraid of cocoa. I'm going to say, don't be afraid of the cayenne in there, because it's going to give you a little bit of kick, just enough. My 8-year-old will grab these off the cabinet and just eat them by the handfuls. So jump right in and use these things, but to your taste. Now, we're going to set this aside and move on to my favorite part, which is the aquafaba dressing. So what I have here, you'll notice that the difference between an aquafaba, or the aquafaba on the screen, is from blonde chickpeas. This is from our black chickpeas. So we're excited to, let's see, I'm going to add some things now that you're going to see on the screen. I'm going to say, don't skip the lemon juice or the lemon zest. Don't skip it. Don't use canned fake lemon juice, because it makes a really big difference in the actual flavor. I'm also adding I'm using some almond butter today and a little bit of vegan mayonnaise. And I'm going to put this in off the screen because I'm working with just a little bit of space here. We're going to mix those together, and sea salt, of course, but a hot sauce of your favorite kind. I'm going to use this datil pepper sauce. And if any of you have ever heard of datil peppers, it's a sweeter pepper. So I'm going to take that and put it in here. It might be too spicy. We'll see. And I don't have the jalapeno. I decided to keep it. We're going to keep it simple in a mason jar and just shake it up for the sake of presenting. You will notice that it's darker, but it does. It makes this really creamy, it's a really creamy dressing. So what we're gonna do is next go over rules for making a wrap on our next slide. And the good news is that there are no rules for making a wrap, but there are a few things to keep in mind. You want to vary your color. You want to vary your textures for different mouth feels, and you want to pan fry because it is going to elevate the flavor tremendously. So what I'm going to do is show you how I have over here. If any of you have been on TikTok or Instagram, they're doing a new way to fold a wrap. And I'm going to show it to you today. So you cut the wrap from the middle to the outside so you can see it here. And then we're going to just pretend that it has quadrants and we're going to just fill it up. And I'm going to show you what I've got here today. I've got a little bit of avocado and fresh chard and some pico de gallo and onions and fresh cilantro from my garden. And we're just gonna stuff this real quick and I'll show you how to fold it. Again, treat it like it's quadrants. So I'll also put some cheese in here. There we go. And then of course, chickpeas. And then we're gonna be good to go. All right. We're just gonna add some extras because it's fun. Okay, so let me try to show this to you. We've got, I'm just gonna move this down. Here we've got a little bit of, there you go. You can see how it's built. It doesn't have to be exact fourths because, it's your wrap. You build it the way that you want to do it. But before we end up closing it up, I'm going to add this beautiful Aquafaba dressing. Smells delicious on there. There we go. And I'm going to fold it up. So the way that you're going to fold this wrap, I'm going to move this down, is you're going to fold it kind of in fourths. So do you see how that works? You fold it in half and then you're going to fold it over like this. And then what I'm going to do is make my way over to the oven and add I'm going to give a shout out here to the Oil Barn. I use their safflower oil. I buy it in the big containers and put it in mason jars and use it like that. I have a bunch of kids. So when you have a bunch of kids, you just have to buy everything in larger quantities. So while this is warming up, there we go. I'm going to say whoever came up with this idea of wrapping it like this is brilliant because my 4-year-old can hold this in his hand much, much easier than a regular wrap with everything falling out the bottom. So I feel like it's really user friendly for not just grown-ups, but for kids too. So I'm going to put this on. Yeah. And it's a low heat now, but I'm gonna hope and pray that I don't burn this. And we're gonna talk about chickpeas and how they're super finicky. And growers, and I think John alluded to this a little, but chickpeas are prone to fungal disease and they are sprayed quite a bit conventionally. They're sprayed multiple times a year to control the fungal disease. Organic growers do not have that option. So in fact, even talking about harvest, there's a couple ways to harvest chickpeas, and one of them is to desiccate or kill the chickpeas, and by spraying them with glyphosate or something of the likes, and then you let it die on the vine, and then you harvest it. Or you can do like our growers, and you can swath it. Swathing is the other way that you can harvest chickpeas, and that's where they go in and they just cut it a week or so before, let it dry in the sun, and then they pull it in with their combine. And that is a chemical-free way to get our chickpeas harvested, and we are very excited that there are options and that we don't have to desiccate for everything. So I'm going to check this real quick, and we're going to flip it. Oh. Okay. Here we go. I had to get that. Spatula. Flip it. Okay. All right. Now, for time's sake, I have created one while that's still going. I thought ahead because, you'd never know. So I thought ahead, and I wanted to show you, this is what the end product looks like. So looky there. That is our beautiful black chickpeas, and then you can sprinkle some more of the Aquafaba on top, and it's amazing. Let's just do that. And I'm gonna eat this in front of you. So just to see how it turned out. So hold on. That's really good. That's really good. So we like to call the black chickpea the little black dress of the pulse world, because it adds simple elegance to any meal. And I'd be curious to see what you think about that. Let me check this really quick. There we go. We're gonna finish cooking that one up. So why am I here? Like, why am I here talking to you about chickpeas in Montana? And let me tell you first where you can find us. We have many places about where we are in Montana, and this is just the short list. So let me tell you, if you are curious, just reach out and I will totally help you find something. I run social for Timeless. And so if you are curious about any other places, these are specifically ones I wanted to mention. 2J's Market, Real Food Deli in Helena. I have got a huge list for you that we can work from. And real quick, let's skip to the next slide. Oh, before you do, why am I here? Why am I standing before you talking about chickpeas, talking about a wrap? Well, to give you context, it is because the soil, this is the soil that is used to grow the bread, this is the soil that's used to the grain for your bread, the chickpeas for your hummus, the lentils for the lentil brownies that you don't know that you love, but you're going to love. And this comes from somewhere, from some company. And when you purchase a product from Timeless, you purchase a product that has been curated using sustainable means and practices that work at minimal environmental impact, not just for a few seasons, but also for years and years to come. And farmers will contend that even with organics, there's room to grow. So we're also excited to announce that we're in the process of pursuing our regenerative organic certification. I'm gonna take this off the oven really quick. That smells so good. I'm gonna let that sit a little bit longer. But the goal of the regenerative organic certification is to allow our customers to see that we're among the ranks of those companies that are dedicated to replenishing the soil through retaining moisture and organic matter. Nutrients that a plant needs using ancient techniques that harness carbon, but with minimal impact to the environment. So that's why I'm standing in front of you today, because it's happening. All of this is happening there in Montana. So I hope that this helps you understand that there are innovative things happening in your backyard. And farming is all about food and all about tasty food, but farming is more than food, it's legacy. And we hope that by our efforts that we are leaving a legacy that is truly timeless. So thank you so much for having us. And I hope that you're hungry for more. Here is our social. Join me on social. We also have an exciting contest coming up, which is our World Hummus Challenge on Instagram. We are collaborating with some Instagram influencers, and we are going to be giving away timeless products. And you will find all of that information if you will join us on social. Again, I run it. So if you have a question about where a product may be, please reach out to me. As a side note, the resources for everything that I've mentioned here will be in the evaluation form that's provided for you. So I encourage you to please take time, fill it out, give us valuable feedback, and for what you want to see next for a Skillshare, for me as a presenter, we value that feedback. So that's all I have today. John, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Brei. I am hungry.
Good.
It's a good thing I ate before this, or I would be abandoning the screen and going to make a wrap. Welcome back. Well, I guess I'm the only one coming back. Everybody else has been here, but if you have questions for Brei, and I hope you do, and I hope you're not shy in asking them, you can do that in the Q&A tab down the bottom of your screen on the right-hand side. And we do have a question that I will, a couple of them here. Okay, is there a difference in the amount of oligosaccharides between black and blonde chickpeas? This is from Cora Helm. Boy, I wouldn't know the answer to that one.
I really love that question. And Cora, I will find that out for you, but I don't know that answer, oligosaccharides, but I will find that out for you.
I would bet that there is a difference between oligosaccharides in timeless chickpeas and in the ones that aren't very timeless.
The ones that I like that, the ones that aren't timeless. Yeah, okay. We'll find that. That's a really good question.
Okay, so next one, do you have to soak overnight or for the dried ones? And also, what's the ratio of water to chickpeas for the instant pot or on the stove?
Great question. So you soak overnight if you're going to do on the stove only. For an Instapot, it does not require an overnight soak. It will reduce your cook time if you do that. So like if you want to, you can. It might take less time, but I mean, I don't ever soak it when I put it in an Instapot. The water ratio, I'm really glad you asked. So when I cook chickpeas, I cook it at 4 cups of chickpeas, because there's a lot of us. And then I cook at, instead of doubling the water, usually you do about 8 cups of water to cook it in, so double it. I use about 6 cups of water so that I can get a nice gelatinous aquafaba to work with, because you can use it for many things, like I said before.
All right, great, thanks. And next one here, you mentioned lentil brownies, and I think you got a little bit of curiosity stirred up. Do you have a recipe for that?
We do. We actually have a recipe on our website for lentil brownies. And if you'll go look on our Instagram today, actually Regen Market, who is one of our customers that do a subscription. It's a subscription service for regenerative organic products in Montana. They posted a recipe for lentil chocolate chip cookies using our French green lentils. And it looks amazing. And they posted their recipe and I shared it on our stories. So yes, there's the recipe for the brownies. There's the recipe for the cookies. You would be shocked. You would be shocked at what you can make, not just savory, but sweet with our products.
Great. So what other pulse crops would you recommend to cook? And what other recipes are there and where could we find them? So you answered some of that right there.
Yeah. So pulse crops, chickpeas you can do. We have a large variety of lentils. I'm not sure if you've seen our website, but lentils come in you can cook them very, very differently. So our petite crimson lentils will cook like better in dals and dips. And our French greens and our black beluga lentils will actually hold their shape in whatever you're cooking. So they're better for like grain bowls and chili and things. You can use the red lentil as like a thickener. So even within the pulses that we grow, there's such variety of what you can do with them. And you can check out our website for so many recipes. We've got sweet, we've got savory. You can check out our Facebook. I'm always sharing stuff for any type of diet. So look there if you are a special needs diet, if you are an athlete, if you are trying to stick to something that's plant-based. I'm always finding new things, and we've got a treasure trove. So don't be shy.
Okay. Great, Brei, thanks. And I'm having some slowdown on my end here, so I'm going to just jump in with the next question. Hope there's time for it here. One listener participant says, I use a pressure cooker to cook my beans. Should I follow the recipe for regular blonde chickpeas?
Yeah, I think you can do that. Yes, I would absolutely do that. The difference is that the difference between the black and the blonde is the black seed coat is just a little bit thicker. And cook time it's not affected that much by it. So I would certainly follow those directions. One thing that I will note as a side note is that we love black chickpeas because of that harder coat. It is better for organic production. I talked about earlier how they're susceptible to fungal diseases. This one is a variety that our growers like to work with because of that seed coat.
All right, great. Thanks, Brei, and thanks for the question. And Frank Lemon asks, when I make hummus, I like to dehusk the cooked chickpeas to make smoother hummus. I'm curious if that affects the protein content. Any clue on that? And I want to just add to that, would you talk a little bit more about the nutritional content of chickpeas in particular?
Yeah, so Frank, hi, I'm so glad you're here. I know that you're a super fan. I see you very active on our social networks. Chickpeas are very high in protein. What I like about them is it's a very good mix between protein and fiber. If you will look on our website, we have everything broken down. You can look at the back of the packages and it will break it down per package between which products and which products are more it gives you every bit of the nutritional content of there. So I would highly suggest going there. I like it for not just the protein content, but the fact that there's a lot of fiber in there, and a lot of Americans are missing fiber in their diets, especially as we're starting to look at, there's a lot of heart health issues out there. So adding things like fiber into the diet, this is a really healthy way to do that.
Great. And another question, where are the farms for timeless seeds located?
I love that question. So I have personally gotten to visit several of these farms. And when you stand in the fields, it's a whole different experience. So the farms can range anywhere from, we have all over Montana. We do have a grower in Wyoming. We have a grower in Idaho, I believe. And I know Jim Barngrover's on here, at least he was earlier. So he's our agronomist, and he can vouch for these things. And then I think we have a grower with some land in Canada. So we're kind of, you think it's small, but it's spread all over. But the vast majority of our growers are in Montana. And I will also add that Montana is so large that there are so many microclimates. So I've talked to growers who are saying, I could never grow black chickpeas because of X, Y, and Z. And I talked to growers who are who only grow French greens, and it's only because of, they know their soil, they know their microclimate, and what works for them.
Great, thanks, Bree. Well, the next question's for me here. And they, anonymous, they won't identify themselves when they ask me a question here. So, John, from your perspective, why is it important to eat regeneratively raised foods over non-regenerative foods? And that is a great question that I have contemplated and wrestled with my whole adult life. But I'll just give you a quick example of why it's important for me, that came from last summer. And I had the opportunity to tour a bunch of the Timeless Growers farms with the two agronomists that work for Timeless, and go around and do field checks all the time and ask and answer questions all the time. And so we over 3 days we traveled 1,000 miles along the High Line of Montana, which, if you aren't familiar, it's the northern highway that goes across the state, and is the Empire Builder Railroad. It's the High Line going along the upper part of the country. So I got to be on this tour, and we visited, I don't know, 8 or 9 different farms growing a variety of the crops, the pulse crops for Timeless. And it was early in the year, so the crops were either had just been planted or they were just coming up. And what was I'll get to you the answer to the question here soon. But what was really important for me, and I noticed it on every place that I was able to, just about every place I walked, I was walking on land that was being treated as a relative, that was really cared for and tended. And I could feel this continuity of energy across the High Line. It was an experience I'd never had before, going 1,000 miles. And of course, I didn't walk the whole distance, but every place we got out to look at a field, it was not a war zone. There wasn't this energy of the farmers feeling like, they're just hating doing what they're doing, but it's the only way they know how. The farmers and their families, there were kids, there were, the whole families out there engaged in it, and they all loved what they were doing, and they weren't concerned about whether they were going to get exposed to some toxic chemical or not. And so knowing that is the case, and that is how people are living their lives, aside from all of the nutritional benefits, the experience of living that lifestyle, growing healthy food, is why I like to eat regenerative food from regenerative farming practices. Because it not only regenerates the soil, it regenerates the soul of the people who are doing the farming.
I mean, and I would add too that it's not just for, they're not making decisions for the next growing season, the next cycle. They're making decisions that are going to affect generations after them, which is a big difference in perspective.
You know, I'll just add another thing. I like eating food that's grown regeneratively just because it tastes so much better. It's got taste. It has flavor. It hasn't had the minerals robbed from the soils that give food flavor and color and health and vibrancy. So we still have time for a few more questions. Let's see, here's one. What are some spices that are good with chickpeas?
Oh my gosh. It just depends on what direction you want to go. A no fail is cumin and garlic and onion and some chili powder. I mean, I put that on there and my kids just go nuts, and it's simple, salt and pepper. You can also go the direction of do like a salt, pepper, parsley. I would choose fresh parsley though, instead of the powdered parsley, and lemon juice. And you make that and you make it cold, and it's really good to snack on. You could add, you saw in my mix, I added cocoa in there, and you would be amazed at just adding these little like hints of these other, spices that you wouldn't necessarily consider mainstream for that. They add so much flavor. So that's another direction you could take it.
Great.
Keep it simple. Yeah, keep it simple, experiment. There are no rules, for sure.
Yeah, and there are a few of us on this call who are rule breakers. I know a couple of them personally, and in that category, I've been making sprouted chickpea hummus.
Okay,
That's raw, and I really like that. And this time I used lime instead of lemon, and it worked really well. And so here's our next question from Audrey Wagner. What is non-regenerative growing then?
What a great question. So when right now the certification is like they've just now got all of the wording right. So forgive me if it's not, I'm going to get the closest that I can, because it's where a lot of us are right now as this concept is new, and it's kind of, I guess, newer to the mainstream. So non-regenerative growing would be like you would be making decisions that would break up the soil life. So right now, one thing that organic growers do that they're trying to figure out a better way for is tillage. How much do you till? Because ultimately tilling breaks up the microbial life that you're trying to build in there. And we've got growers at different stages of this. We've got growers at no-till, we've got growers at low-till, we've got that till more, but they're trying to move to this place where they don't, because the soil ends up turning to dirt, which blows away, and it doesn't support life. So I think that is more the direction that we're talking. Like, let's not disturb the soil. We're going to be ones that add stuff instead of take away. And so that's the direction that we're moving. We're excited about that, very excited about that. Oh, I can't hear you.
That's because I muted myself.
Oh.
So Audrey says, I should add that I have a large garden and probably do grow regenerative. And so, and I just wanted to read a comment here from Jim Barngrover, who is one of the agronomists that I went traveling with on this trip last summer, which was, such a great break from the whole phenomenon we all got to experience this last year. So he says, we have successfully grown the Black Butte chickpeas across Montana and Wyoming. The black chickpeas have significantly more tannins and are thicker skinned and a thicker skin, and they're more resilient than the large blonde Kabula type. And this makes them much more adapted to organic production. The most common desiccant used to terminate chickpeas and lentils is in a non-organic system is paraquat and glyphosate for that purpose. And so what he's talking about, a desiccant, is that it sucks all the water, the moisture out of the plant and helps them dry evenly, so you can save a day or two in the harvest time. And the residue is not a fun thing to experience, although we all do. So Marianne Schumacher says, why sprout your chickpeas? So I sprout them because I like sprouting, and I don't cook them after I sprout them. You could, but I don't, because I like a certain amount of my food to be raw, and it was just something I thought I would try, and I like it. And they process pretty well. I sprout them for 5 or 6 days, let them get a pretty good tail on them, and then it takes quite a bit of blending. One of the things that I don't get, though, is I don't get the what's the liquid called again?
Aquafaba.
Yeah, I don't get any aquafaba from them. All of that, yeah, all of that is still in the hummus. So
yeah, that's true.
And I think
Thank you,
that's
Jim,
about all
for
of our
finding that.
questions so far.
Jim, if you know the answer to the saccharides, let me know. Let us know here.
So, well, unless there are more questions, you can keep bringing them in, but we'll go on here and share with you a few ways that you can take action, because we're not just a passive organization. We want to produce these skill shares so that it inspires people to take action, and sometimes people don't always know what their next step is. So I'm going to make some suggestions. And one is that we really encourage people to take personal action as an antidote to the larger picture problems that we have, because when we take action, it puts us into solution mode rather than into problem worry mode, and so it changes our attitude, and frankly, we like to be around people that have a happy attitude because they're taking action. And so one of the ways you can do that is to become a member, if you're not already, of Northern Plains Resource Council, and there will be links to that in the chat, and you can attend different events that we have. So, and you can look for timeless seeds, timeless foods in where you shop, or you can shop on their website. They'll send them to you. They did a lot of that. Their resilience to the pandemic experience indicates their resilience in the world of soil as well, and that they really came through. They found that people wanted to buy directly from them, and they were getting less orders from restaurants and places like that. And so they're able to shift their focus really quite easily. I think part of that, the ease of that transition was because they're eating healthy food. But that's just my and if you are a member of have kids in a school, or you're associated with an institution of any kind, encourage them to buy locally. This is Timeless Food is a local product. It's local farmers that grow it, and so that's a great thing. And one of the other things you can do is take the Montana Local Food Challenge later this summer. Stay tuned to Northern Plains. Get on our mailing list. Become a member, and you'll learn about other actions that you can take. And so we have an annual local food challenge during the month of August, and that's a lot of fun. And chickpeas are the April harvest of the month food item. So if you're, engaged in that thing where you are participating in the harvest of the month program, do that. Encourage your school. If you have kids, or if you're going to school, the school to use locally produced organic materials for their food that they're preparing for their kids. The kids will learn better, they'll think better, and they'll be more creative in our world. And one of the other things you can do that I'm really excited about, because I'm on the soil task force, soil health task force in Northern Plains, we get to this year, after a year's hiatus, sponsor 4 soil crawls where we go to farms and ranches that are practicing regenerative methods of taking care of their land and their plants and animals. And we get down on our hands and knees and we look at the details of what's happening, and comparisons to how things were done, what the things were, what was happening before people took these measures to become regenerative, and compare them. And they're really a lot of fun. They're going to be one in probably not in June, but there'll be one in July, one in August, one in September, and maybe in October as well. So in different places of the state, there'll be one up at Conrad, one in Helena, one outside of Big Timber, and one over by Forsyth. And maybe they're not solid yet, but stay tuned with Northern Plains and get on the list for those. They're a great way to spend your day and meet wonderful people. So let's see here. Okay, so then we're going to have you do a survey, an evaluation of this webinar after we're done. And if you do that, fill out the survey, then on that survey is the list of all of the resources that Brei has put together, and that Northern Plains has put together. And so you'll be able to just make much more use of this. And this event is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and check on things. So I think we're getting along here in the process, and we're doing great on the time. So
and I'd like to add that we'll add these questions, the answers to these questions, I'll put that in the link that I give you guys. So if it didn't get answered to your liking at this, know that we're going to be taking this and I'll go through and answer them more thoroughly in the link that we'll provide you.
Yeah, and if you like what Brei's doing here, and I can't imagine anybody who's here that doesn't, you might be able to meet her in person next year, next summer. She just told me that she wants to attend one of the soil crawls. She didn't say which one, so you might have to sign up for all 4 of them. And,
all of them.
you might be able to bow down to Brei and her work with Timeless at one of those. So I think at this stage, what else do I have here? We have all of the links, and you're filling out the evaluation, letting us know how you like this Skillshare work that we're doing. And yeah, and remember, if you're not a member of Northern Plains, become one. This is some of the really fun stuff that we get to do. We you know, one of the big things we do is try and we do our best to hold extractive energy organizations accountable for the work, the damage that they're doing to the planet. And that's big work, but this is the really fun stuff that we get to do, the regenerative stuff. So thanks for showing up again and being a part of this. Tell your friends to come back to visit the recording. It'll be up in a few days, I would imagine. And you can go to northernplains.org website and check us out. And so with that, I think my part of this, other than to just Brei, this has been a great fun, and I'm going to definitely make that kind of wrap. What an idea. I mean, you know, the cleaning business will hate you for this because people are not spilling all that sauce on the front
Yeah.
of your clothing. But it's a great, that's really great. And sometime you'll have to tell me how to make a chickpea based tortilla.
Ooh, yes. That sounds lovely. Yes, we'll do that. We'll do that. That sounds yummy. I did see another question in the queue, and it was a really good one, real quick. And it was, where can you buy? Is there a resource? There is a resource. I have it in the link that we will be providing for you of the dozens of places that you can find it just in Montana. If you are outside of Montana, we also have answers for you, but specifically they're in the link that will be provided. So know that, yes, there is a resource.
All right. Great, Brei, and thanks behind the scenes to Caitlin Cromwell and to Caroline Canarios and to Ty Kuster for helping us all stay on the screen and put this all together. So have a great evening. Go catch the tail end of the President's State of the Union address if you want to, and go sign up.